All right, guys, I got a brand new monitor right here. I'm dueling it. I know you can't see it, but I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling good. I'm down to make some new content, some more videos, so let's get into it. So I'm going to be reading you an article from Hollywood Reporter. It has been confirmed that Toby Emmerich is now out as the Warner Brothers Chairman Motion Picture Group and is being replaced with two other people. Now, there was a lot of speculation that Toby wasn't going to last long in that position once Discovery and Zaslav moved in, and you can already tell that Zaslav is starting to make a ton of different decisions, a ton of different change-ups, canceling projects, green lighting projects. He's on the move. He's doing a lot of stuff right now, and it's only going to get crazier from here, I'm sure. Now, Mr. Emmerich probably just saved face and dropped down from his role instead of risking this entire thing and potentially being fired, which would disgrace his name. So it says here, Warner Brothers Discovery's film studio management structure is taking shape. Sources with knowledge of the matter tell Hollywood Reporter as the executive team of Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy have reached a deal to run Warner's and New Line as soon as Amazon releases them from their contract at MGM as soon as next month. Toby Emmerich, who has been running Warner's and New Line since 2017, well, yeah, there you go. Like I said, will exit that role, but is expected to get a production deal. Now, I don't know too much about Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy, and to be quite honest with you, I know less about Pamela than I do Michael. I know Michael DeLuca's name from a couple of really popular movies, which he would have obviously been the producer of. The three movies I'd think of with Michael DeLuca's name attached to it would be The Social Network with Jesse Eisenberg, Brothers with Tobey Maguire, Jake Gyllenhaal, Natalie Portman, and then I think he also was part of Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks. Now, I'm not going to sit here and start catering towards them saying this is it. DC and Warner Brothers is going to be completely new and efficient, and it's going to work perfectly. I'm not going to judge them based off of something I haven't even seen them do within the DC world so far. But what I will say is that it is nice to see David Zaslav is out here pushing the right people out and maybe pulling the right people in. A change is needed. Whether or not this change is good or bad, we'll see. But change is change. You gotta try something. Warner Brothers Discovery chief David Zaslav's strategy as he shapes the company is to create three verticals, each with its own leadership. Warner Brothers New Line, DC, and Animation under DeLuca and Abdy. DC Films president Walter Hamada will report to DeLuca and Abdy until new leadership is identified, and the head of the animation vertical is yet to be named. Zaslav's intention is to model Warner's after the system that former Disney CEO Bob Iger implemented at that studio, with the verticals reporting directly to him. Zaslav has talked to former Disney studio chairman Alan Horn about serving as an advisor. In designing the vertical's approach for overseeing Warner Brothers Discovery's film executive structure, Zaslav consulted not only with Horn, but with Iger. Say what you will about Bob Iger and how he handled the treatment of Star Wars with George Lucas, but we cannot deny the fact that he knew what he was doing with Marvel. And I understand we are not all Marvel fans on this channel. I appreciate Marvel for what it is. I don't love the movies. Only a certain few of them are good in my eyes. But overall, we can't argue or we cannot deny the fact that Marvel has been out here making a connected cinematic universe that still works to this day. Every single one of their movies nearly cracks $1 billion. It still has fans' interest. Whether or not you have these die-hard Marvel fans who don't see another outside world of entertainment, or you do have die-hard Marvel fans who do realize there is content outside of the MCU, it still goes to show the fact that Marvel is catering to a huge fan base for cinema and superheroes. They've clearly done something right. I say this all the time. Kevin Feige has done something that no producer may ever do again. He's branched off an entire Marvel Cinematic Universe that all stemmed from one Iron Man film. and it just went from there. So kudos got to go to them. And David Zaslav obviously sees the success they've had and thinks to himself, not only why can't we do that with DC, why hasn't DC already been doing that? Sorting out DC remains a major challenge for Zaslav. Sources say he has asked Todd Philips, the multi-hyphenate who created dark 2019 billion-dollar grosser The Joker, to do more in the DC universe, potentially acting as an advisor, though he will not serve in an executive capacity. A knowledgeable source says Philips and Zaslav have discovered a rapport, though Philips is not an expert on the broader DC universe. While at Disney-owned Marvel, Chief Creative Officer Kevin Feige oversees film, television, animation, and publishing. There has been no single voice guiding DC. Thank you. I'm glad to have finally seen those words stated in an article. We all know that's been the issue with DC, but it's just good to just see it down in writing form. We need a structure. We need someone to rely on, like a Kevin Feige. DC Chief Hamada oversees the film universe based on the company's characters, including its HBO Max spin-offs. Yeah, definitely has not been a good call with Hamada. He has made some very questionable decisions in his time overseeing these films. As a veteran of both Disney and Warner's, Horn has refrained from working out a formal arrangement until Zaslav sets his executive team. Horn did not want to involve himself earlier due to his relationships with various multiple players or potential players in the mix. His return to Warner's is something of a full circle moment as he left Warner's in 2011 amid corporate shuffling there. He then went on to a vastly successful run at Disney. In a similar vein, DeLuca was fired as president of production of New Line in 2001 following a string of flops, including the Adam Sandler bomb Little Nicky, only to return more than 20 years later as head of the film studio. Now, having Alan Horn come into Warner Brothers Discovery and help around with the DC world would be a pretty big benefit. I mean, he is known for dabbling in things like The Hobbit or the Middle-earth series. Once again, say what you will about The Hobbit. I know they're not as good as Lord of the Rings, but at least it still gives you the Middle-earth vibes, and at least they're still enjoyable and watchable. And whereas he was the creative chief officer of Disney Studios, he also has the idea of what Disney would be doing currently right now with Marvel. He knows that world. He's worked for a company that's currently doing that right now. This could be needed for Warner Brothers. It is needed for Warner Brothers. Of course, we could take that last sentence in the final paragraph about DeLuca being fired from Warner in 2001. Then again, though, I don't think we should take that all too seriously. That's a different time, guys. That's 20 years ago. And he's coming back to Warner Brothers 20 years later. Different movies, different narratives, different audiences, different everything. He's now entering Warner Brothers in a world where the movie industry is not owned by Adam Sandler's hour-and-a-half comedy films. They're owned by superhero films. Maybe he'll be able to relate better to the superhero world than he would have when he was heading the production line in Warner's with all these comedy films. Now, I gotta be honest here, I was not expecting the name drop of Todd Philips. I did not think that Zaslav and Philips were having a connection with one another. There's obviously this talk about Todd Philips doing Joker 2, but like it even said in the article, Todd Philips doesn't really know the broader DC universe. He's probably only focused on strict storytelling for specific characters. He only knows how to maybe keep these stories grounded. I'm sure Zaslav isn't going to Todd Philips thinking to himself, okay, so you made a $1 billion Joker film that was basically just a character piece, a character study that you could literally teach in schools or get upcoming filmmakers to dissect that film. So because you did that, tell me, How should we bring the Green Lantern Corps into the universe? You know, that's not how it's going to work with Todd Phillips. That is not his area of expertise. Maybe he's keeping Todd Phillips close to DC so they can continue this world they've created with a more grounded version of the Joker and the Batman with Robert Pattinson. Maybe Zaslav is looking at that and saying like, look, we want a connected DC universe, but why should we stop these solo stories? Why should we stop these other worlds that clearly can make money? And I know there have been rumors about this for years, even before the Joker film actually dropped, about the potential and the possibility that Todd Phillips was going to develop other solo films for other villains within DC. I heard names like Nigma for Riddler or Cobblepot for Penguin. Like, they could potentially do things like that. Whether or not they would be connected to the Joker movie, who really knows? Who even knows if those ideas are even real? Maybe they're just ideas written on a piece of paper, like, you know, maybe one day. So if that's the case, I could see David Zaslav thinking about that and keeping Todd Phillips relatively close. All right, so all in all, what does this mean? Well, I don't necessarily think many of us can give a proper answer for that, because I don't think there is an answer. This could potentially be really good, or it could amount to nothing. We don't know yet. Getting new producers, new leadership, and new advisors within DC and Warner Brothers is certainly needed. Change is needed, like I said at the beginning of the video. There's just no guarantee whether or not the change will be good or bad. You can't actually tell what is going to happen unless you try something. And guys, at least Zaslav is trying, man. At least he's trying to make something good come from DC and Warner Brothers. Something that these past leaders were not doing for a long time. He should already be given credit for trying something. So let's keep a close eye on this. Let's see what happens within the next couple of weeks, next couple of months. This is the good thing about Zaslav coming into control right now, though, is it always feels like there's something new. There's always a new piece of information that's dropping, something kind of breaking news, if you will, is coming out. So this is a good time to kind of keep an eye on Warner Brothers and DC and see what the next big thing is going to be that they drop on us. Now, of course, like usual, it's time for you to leave in the comments below what you think of this. If you think this is good or bad, or it's way too early to tell. I think it is a mixture of good and too early to tell. There is just a lot of moving pieces here, and we'll have to see what happens. But that is all I have for this one, guys. And until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.